I know that some people like to make fun of Ubuntu today. I totally get it. The whole snap thing is dumb. A lot of the other things, yeah, it's fun to make fun of Ubuntu. But when Ubuntu came along, it really was an important change to the Linux world. This was a few short months after the first release of Fedora Core, now going by Fedora Linux. Prior to this, you had Red Hat offering Red Hat Linux, not Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Red Hat Linux, which is back when Red Hat actually cared about the Linux desktop. Back then, in the early 2000s, the Linux desktop was very young, was very new, and there was still a lot of things that really need to be ironed out to make things actually a good computing experience. And at the time, Ubuntu really was pushing the Linux desktop forward. So not long after the first release, we had 2005 and 504 Hoary Hedgehog. Not Horny Hedgehog, that would be a very different thing, and not Hoary spelt with a W, it's Hoary. I don't know what it means. Also, not at all important to what I'm talking about today. In this version, we saw the addition of software updates, nowadays known as Update Manager, the graphical way of handling those updates. Now, it's stuck with Ubuntu ever since, through GNOME versions, through Unity versions, then back to GNOME versions. It's basically always had it. But for a while now, it's had a bit of a problem. There was a way to completely softlock the installer, and this isn't a new bug. This wasn't added in 2504 or 2404, anything like that. It's been around for a very long time. Now, it was reported back in 2404, Install Now button disappears for good if all packages are unselected and Ubuntu Pro packages are shown but not available. If one deselects all the packages, the Install Now button disappears, which makes sense. On another note, it would make more sense if it was simply just grayed out. Okay, that's not a bug, that's working like it should. However, when one or more packages are reselected, the button won't ever reappear, and the Update Manager must be restarted in order to upgrade any packages. So basically what's happening is if you take the Update Manager, deselect every single package, the update button disappears. Then you reselect the package, the update button doesn't come back. So it's broken, and you can't update now. Looking a little like this on an older version of Ubuntu. So this is one of those very weird edge cases where most users are simply just not going to run into it, because why are you going into the updater, unselecting everything, and then reselecting things, right? Like, most people are not going to do that. Now, the bug shouldn't happen. The bug, this is a bug. It should be re-showing the button, but I can totally understand how this is not something that anybody actively deals with. At the same time, it has been a problem for way too long, for a problem that frankly isn't that difficult to fix, and honestly, I think the main reason nobody fixed it earlier is nobody at Canonical realized the bug was there, and anybody who did run into the bug never actually reported it, because this isn't a difficult problem to fix. Now, last week when I was streaming live over on Brodie on Games, over on Twitch and on YouTube, feel free to check me out over there if you like gaming stuff, I was talking about this thing, and I made a joke about finding out exactly where the problem started. Now, one of my frequent viewers, Dominic Hayes, the developer of Ferran OS, decided that he wanted to take the joke seriously and went out to upgrade Ubuntu from 504 to the modern version, going through Ubuntu older releases, all that stuff to get it all working, to find out exactly where the problem started happening, because if it was happening in an unsupported version of Ubuntu, that was never going to be mentioned as there being a fix released. So I don't fully understand why it says what it does in the affected list and having a fix released. This says Xennial. That is 1604. Now, going through the testing, he couldn't replicate it in 1604. at all. The earliest version that you could replicate it in is the image I showed you earlier, Ubuntu 1804 Bionic Beaver. He also tried it in 16.10 and couldn't replicate it there either, so I'm not entirely sure why there is a fix committed here. Maybe under certain conditions it could be done there, but it didn't seem like that was the case. Now here's the real fun thing about people testing it in the thread. Here the window simply goes unresponsive and segfaults, won't submit crash files, whoopsie, wants me to upgrade the entire system before doing so. There was a separate bug also in these old installers, that being this one over here. Unchecking packages in Update Manager causes a segfault. So not only does the button disappear in some versions, but in some versions it will segfault, crashing the entire installer, so you can't even test the issue you're trying to test. So this issue from 2023 was reported a while ago, also finally got fixed, alongside this issue being fixed as well. Now, when the problem did happen, the message you need to enable Ubuntu Pro to install these updates is written exactly when the button disappears, or actually at any time that no packages are selected any longer. So it looks something like this. Right down the bottom here, you need to enable Ubuntu Pro to install these updates. So what appears to be happening is when everything is deselected, and there are Ubuntu Pro packages being listed, but not available, the button just vanishes. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That obviously shouldn't be happening, and then when you reselect things, nothing comes back for some reason. Basically, the only problem with the report itself is the way it was initially being written. As said by this person right here, they just wanted it to be rewritten nicely to fit with the Ubuntu SRU model, the stable release update model, as like nicer wording for the bug. But the bug itself is confirmed, and the bug itself is real. It's just not some crazy complicated mess that like causes it. Like, this isn't some, oh, we need to dive through tens of thousands of lines of code to work out some weird case where this is happening. This appears to be a simple check, which wasn't implemented properly. And the button just gets removed, and they don't recheck that there's no button there, and don't add the button back. So a fix for this was produced relatively quickly. As you can see, all of this stuff happened back in March, actually. The reason I'm talking about it now is the patch for this only got released quite recently, a couple of days back. So now on every supported version of Ubuntu, this has been dealt with, and the installer should no longer just delete the button. Again, I understand how a problem like this happens. This is one of those cases where you just don't expect someone to do it, so you just don't bother testing it, and it just slips through for a long time. Nobody cares enough to report it because people who know the problem happens just don't do that thing, and they think maybe somebody else has reported it, so eventually the problem's going to be dealt with, and then 7 years later, the problem is still there, even in modern versions of Ubuntu today. Or I guess more accurately, modern versions of Ubuntu where they haven't gone and installed the update, which fixed it a couple of days ago. This is a great reminder that even if a bug is small, even if you know how to work around a bug, probably go and report it. Now, if somebody else has reported it, don't bother doing so then, totally understandable, but if the bug is there and you cannot find a report, even if you think someone else probably knows about it, if there isn't a report, assume nobody does, because it's gonna be there for 7 years otherwise. So I'm kind of curious, if you're an Ubuntu user, have you ever actually run into this problem? Did you know about it? Have you known about it for a couple of years now, and just assumed that maybe the bug was reported, maybe somebody was working on it, maybe somebody was dealing with it, and you just knew not to interact with that way of using the installer you knew, never deselect everything because it's gonna break the installer. Or maybe you're just finding out about it today. I'd love to know. So if you liked the video, go like the video. If you really liked the video and you want to become one of these amazing people over here, check out the Patreon, subscribe to the Brodie, linked in the description down below. That's going to be it for me, and update. Update broke.